How to change your mind. The mother. You stare into the sky at night and wonder, where did it all go wrong? You wonder if you did enough, too much, too little. You always try to show your children the same affection, the same way to be in the world, the same way to love others as they had been loved by you. But your son is gone anyway, and he's been gone long enough that the days are running together. You don't quite know if it's been months or years, and that's partly because you wake up every morning still with the same knowledge thundering in your awareness, just as fresh as it was that first day, in case you had forgotten. My son is gone. My son is gone. My son is gone, and I do not know where he is. You tend the roses beside the house, and you pray that one day the scent of them will lead them home. You tell yourself that your son leaving was not his choice exactly. At the very least, it wasn't a free choice. Maybe he had been overwhelmed by the balance in the bank account or the smooth words of the men and the women who promised him satisfaction anywhere but here. Maybe he had forgotten who he was, forgotten who they were when they were together. You pray there is still time for him to remember. When your husband thinks you aren't listening, you can hear him murmuring the words from the old song that you taught the boys growing up. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. If one offered for love all the wealth of one's house, it would be utterly scorned. You hum it to yourself, and sometimes he hums along, and the two of you never discuss it. You know that this is because you are both desperately trying to believe it. You hold each other at night, and the hope that you shelter together scarcely can bear the weight of acknowledgement. It is so fragile. The early spring storms that passed during the night have left the world washed clean, glistening, ready for the day's work of knitting together something new and pushing it skyward. It has been a very long time since the sky has seemed so wide, so full, so blue. The sun. Here's the thing about slouching home with your hat in your hand, head hung low, with the stench of the sty still on your clothing. It is humiliating. It's the nervous glances up and left and right as you round the corner into the neighborhood looking for anyone who ever knew you, at once hoping for and fearing the dignity of a gaze returned, the weight of being humanized by a glint of recognition. It's the growing heaviness in the pit of your stomach as you hold the street up against the fuzzy frame of memory to see the ghosts of a prouder self taking it all for granted, seeing only now that when you left, you had imagined that you would never pass this way again, never have to see the devastation you left in your wake, never need to touch the scar marks of your cavalier callousness. You made your way toward everything that you thought you ever wanted. And now you find that the scar marks you find here match the ones that you etched into your own heart. It's the coldness in your bones as you stop at the head of the driveway. It's your feet nearly tearing you from the pavement. Turn, run. And it's remembering that someone you once knew called this place home, called this place by a word that leaves a bittersweet tang in your mouth. It's the warmth in your heart as you see the dew glistening on the roses, as your yearning picks up its weary head like a dog daring to hope anew for a scrap of affection. And it's the doors opening. It's the eyes gone wide. It's closing again as they fill with tears. It's your father and your mother and your sisters and all their little dogs, too. It's the joy and the laughter and the crying, the homecoming, the feasting, the celebration. It's new life where everything moments before was nothing but death, and it's goodness, strengthened by heartache, the pang of knowing that it did not have to be this way. But the love and the love and the love, radiating, cascading, bounding, leaping, coursing, powerful, strong as death and stronger still, drawing you and everyone else up, 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 into its depth and breadth and height, further up and further in, world without end. Here's the thing about slouching home with your hat in your hand, head hung low, with the stench of the sty still on your clothing. It is humiliating. And none of that actually matters at all. The lonely spirit. You sit on the porch that night, nursing a glass of wine that you swiped from your father's table as you passed through the party. You know he's been saving it. It was bought at a great price. But it tastes bitter in your mouth. You will never forget that morning when you woke up and found that your brother was finally gone. It didn't happen all at once, of course. He had chosen to starve the relationship to death, and that takes time. 1,000 tiny choices until he had finally cauterized his heart enough, finally able to tear off the remaining threads all at once and go. You resent him for that, but your father never seemed to, and that doesn't sit well with you. People who treat others poorly ought to be marked out of the book, and good riddance. The door from the kitchen opens, and you squint as the warm light spills out onto your face. It's your father. Aren't you going to come in? We've kept a place for you. You say nothing. You remember that the morning that he finally left, you felt free at last to be the model child that your parents had always deserved. Your brother had always been the freer spirit, and that was something that you had never quite been able to get a handle on. You've always been the dutiful one, always at your father's beck and call, always making sure that your choices accounted for every variable, always, ever, the sensible, realistic one. You never got enough credit for that, but then again, you've always been humble enough to not need recognition. That would make you just like everyone else, and you are not like everyone else. And all for what? For this gaudy display of affection, for someone that they should have given up for dead. All you have ever been afforded is your daily bread. To call it unfair would be one thing and true enough, but the extravagance, the waste. You finally managed to spit at your father. It's distasteful. After everything he put us through, after everything he put you through, and he's back in just like that. You raise your glass to your lips, and the wine turns bitter on your tongue. Oh, my child, your father sighs. You think the way I choose to celebrate my love for my family is distasteful. All that is mine is yours for the asking, just as it was for your brother. And if you think he has been too quick to give himself to others, too foolish with his money, then he learned it from me. But you have always been desperate to prove yourself, to me and to everyone else, always insisting on doing it all on your own. And I am not sure that I have ever understood why. Today your brother has a fresh start, and you could have one too. Why not let this be the day of a new beginning, a new life? A gentle breeze wafts by, and you smell your mother's roses. Get up, come in. This long winter is finally over, and it's almost time for the singing to start. Your father holds the door open, and the warm light lands at your feet. And as you look up, you can see your brother and your mother and your sisters and the little dogs too, and an empty chair at the table. You take another sip of the wine, and this time you aren't quite sure how it tastes.